I want to take a moment today to make a video. I've had a lot of people ask me why I haven't done a video in the last couple of days, last few days actually. It's because I just really haven't felt it was appropriate for my brand of videos to be putting it out there right now. It's just not the time or the place, and I just thought it's best to lay low for a little while. Because like I said in one of my earlier videos, I'm just kind of sick and tired of the people that are out there ranting and raving right now, using this tragedy in Connecticut to further their own agenda and make this video somehow about us or them themselves. And that's not what it's about, and this is not what needs to be being done right now. So I didn't want to do that, and I'm still not going to do that, but I did want to address a couple of topics here. Now, first off, I think it's very important to remember that there are people here that have been damaged for the rest of their lives. They've lost their child. There's nothing that can compare to that. It not only has such a tragic thing happened, but the worst part about it almost is, besides the fact that it happened, was that there's no one to hurt. There's no one to take our aggression out because this person ended his own life before he could be punished. And a lot of people have asked me, I stated he was a monster in my earlier video, and do I stand by that? Do I still think this guy was a monster, or do I think he was mentally ill? Well, I do think he was a monster, but why do I think he was a monster? Because even more importantly than being a monster, I think he was a broken person. And that's one of the things we need to center on right now is, why was he a broken person? Why was he a monster? The answer to that's pretty clear. I mean, the guy was ill. The guy was mentally ill. He should not have been allowed to just be normally out in society without proper precautions, and he might not have even been safe for society at all. Because we need to start in this country, we need to stop stigmatizing mental illness. But also, other than not just stigmatizing mental illness, we also have to be willing to do something about it when it is recognized. Often in this country, people, not only do they stigmatize people who are mentally ill, but they neglect people admitting that certain people are mentally ill because of this false idea that it's somehow a threat to our freedom. If we admit that some people are mentally ill to the point where they can't handle a gun, we somehow think that the government's going to use that against us to take the rights away from everybody. Well, I hate to break it to you, if the government decided they were going to take your rights away, they wouldn't need to use something like that. They would do it in other ways. So that whole argument is kind of false. Saying that if we start taking the gun rights away from people that are seriously mentally ill is the first step in towards just declaring everyone mentally ill and taking their guns away just because they like guns is a ridiculous slippery slope argument. I mean, it's like going to extremes without any justification for going to extremes. It's like saying that because we take gun rights away from people who commit violent felonies, the next thing we'll be doing is taking gun rights away from people that get speeding tickets. It's just a ridiculous argument. So like I said in my previous video in this country, the biggest thing we need to start doing right now is stop stigmatizing mental illness, develop a strong system for actually taking care of people that are mentally ill, get these people the treatment they need, don't allow it to fester, don't allow them to become monsters, stop it in the early stages. But there's also one other aspect of it we have to realize too, and this angers a lot of people on both sides, and you have to realize some people are just broken. There are some people that cannot be fixed, that cannot be returned to society. If the only thing that stands between you and a violent rampage is one day of forgotten meds, then you're not safe to be in society. You cannot count on that person that's mentally ill monitoring their own mental health and not missing a single dose of medication that could cause them to spiral into paranoia and to monsterness. I know that's not a word, but you get my point. So right now, instead of demonizing guns and talking gun control, which I'm actually glad that I was watching CNN the other day, and their lead legal advisor, he even made the statement of, this kind of shooting you could not stop unless you banned all firearms entirely. He said, which is never going to happen, so that's not the answer. And I agree with him. You can't stop that. Banning firearms is not the answer, and you can't stop this kind of crime. There will always be evil. If there's not guns, then there'll be knives or trucks full of fertilizer or pipe bombs or, people stabbing like they did in the China school recently. There'll always be a way for evil to act out. So we have to start dealing with the evil instead of trying to take its tools away. So what we really need to do right now, like I've said time and time again, we need to start looking around. How have we failed each other? How have we failed our fellow man in taking care of people that need help? But we also need to look around and see, how have we failed each other by pretending that it's somehow a threat to our own individual freedoms and it's a threat to our own individual gun rights to admit that certain people are mentally ill. How have we failed in doing that also? So, it's a whole lot of failures on our shoulders right now that cause these kinds of things. And instead of, like I said, demonizing tools, we need to start looking around and saying, listen, these are human failings. We're the ones that are failing to do the things we need to do, and we need to start doing them because a tragedy like this can't be allowed to happen again. I mean, it's just not worth it. And like I said, you can't demonize the tools, because if I thought that destroying every gun in my safe right now would bring back one of these children, I would do it in a second. I'd be out with a blowtorch in my front driveway right now doing it. And if someone could somehow guarantee me that if I got rid of all guns in the world, that another child would never die needlessly again, another innocent child would never suffer if I could get rid of all guns, not only would I be burning mine in the driveway tonight, but I'd be after yours tomorrow and doing everything I could to get them. But we don't live in a world of guarantees like that, and we don't live in a world where that's the reality. So like I said, stop demonizing tools, stop going after, stop seeking solutions that can't work, and start, like I said, just looking around, seeing where we're failing each other, and stop it.